everybody, welcome back to my modern homestead. If you don't already know, my name is Janet and I've got something canning on the stove. We are doing a project today for Crystal over at A Whole New Perspective, #JarredUp2023, and I'm ready to share it with you. Now, I want you to stick around until the end because in this recipe there is a secret ingredient that's going to take this barbecue sauce from really good to wow. So you don't want to miss it, stick around. Let's take a look at what we have out. Okay, we need to start with 6 cups of peeled and chopped peaches, and then we need 1 cup of finely chopped onions and 1 cup of finely diced bell peppers. Now the recipe does not say to do this, but I am doing it. Once I get everything chopped up, I'll put it into here as I'm chopping, but then I'm going to put it into the food processor to break it down because I don't want big chunks. I've never done this. I don't know how well it cooks down, but I don't want to take a chance. Then we need 3/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. Excuse my hair tie, I've got to get my hair up. And then we need 1 1/4 cup of honey. Whatever your favorite honey is will be just fine. This is local honey. And the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of hot pepper flakes. Now, these are my excuse me, Korean hot pepper flakes, but if all you have is just what is in the store, you go right ahead and use that. That'll be just fine. Then we have 2 teaspoons of dried mustard. Then we have 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, and like I said, I've got a secret ingredient, but we'll have to see that one at the end. Let's get all these peeled and chopped. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, Alyssa has gone to get my other ingredient because it has magically disappeared in my freezer. I need 6 cloves of garlic. Y'all, I had a whole big bag of garlic cloves that I peeled from so many bulbs of garlic and I can't find them. Guess they were lost in the move. Do y'all keep pieces of onions and peppers in your freezer that you don't use? That's what this is. I used a little bit of the onion the other day, so I'm going to use the rest of it today. And as I chop, I will put it into the measuring cup to measure as we go. And once we get to 1 cup, that's all we need. Okay, we've got our onion. Now let's chop up a cup of bell pepper. Again, this is just a piece of bell pepper I had in the refrigerator. We're not going to waste it. We're going to use what's left, and if we need any more, we'll cut some more off of another bell pepper. I like to take out the ribs and seeds. Those can be kind of bitter. We don't want that. So cut out as much as you can and chop it up finely. I'm not going to worry about it being too fine since we're putting it in the food processor. But look at there, there's a seed hiding. I want to chop it up finely enough to get a good 1 cup measurement. We need just a hair more bell pepper, so I'm just going to cut off one of those little sections and chop it up and we'll be done. Okay, that's all we needed. So I have the onion and bell pepper. I'm just going to put them both in that bowl until we get the peaches done. Speaking of peaches, let's do those. Now, the pieces of bell pepper and onion that we have left, they're not going to waste. They'll go right back into the refrigerator. Okay, let's get our peaches done. I'm going to do these just like I do them when I'm canning my slices. We'll just peel them, cut them. I'm probably not going to cut them as fine as when I do the slices because, as I've already told you, we're putting them in the food processor, so they don't need to be real little. Just get them peeled and sliced up. Now I asked the guy at the farmer's, well, not the farmer's market, the little fruit stand up the road where these came from. I was so sad. These are not Georgia peaches. What in the world? These are from South Carolina. So South Carolina folks, thank you. Let's see what it tastes like. It's definitely not a Georgia peach, but it'll do. Sorry, South Carolina. I forgot, y'all. The measurements given in the recipe are going off of finely diced peaches, so I'm having to go back and cut some of these chunks up. I'm glad I remembered in time, because big chunks will take up more room than finely diced, and you want to go off the measurements for finely diced to get the right amount of peaches. While I'm working on these, let me say also that back behind me I have the canner heating up. Got my jars in there, and I'm going to let those boil. It's not necessary, but for reasons I won't go into here, I am going to boil them for 10 minutes before I put anything in them, just to sterilize them. Alright, Alyssa got back from the store. I have my 6 cloves of garlic. I'm going to measure out and make sure this is 6 cups of peaches, and then we're going to put everything together. Alright, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go ahead and add in the cloves of garlic. I think we're going to have to cut up just a little bit more. 5. Okay, let me cut up just a little bit more of the peaches. And y'all, just so you know that I was cutting up about South Carolina peaches, when I first started, that's where all my peaches came from. I used to can, what were they? Albertas and Red Globe. And they always came from South Carolina. A church I attended, the ladies got together and we all ordered them from there. So the quality of these peaches has nothing to do with where they came from. I was totally kidding. Oh well, we got our 6 cups. Now just follow my madness here. I was putting them in the food processor to measure them out. I'm going to put them back in here, or at least most of them. That way I can chop up the onions and peppers and the garlic with them all at the same time, and just so they all come out consistent. Does that make any sense? Y'all see what I'm doing? I don't want to have chunks of garlic stuck at the bottom, or chunks of pepper stuck at the bottom, or chunks of peaches. I want everything all mixed together. So I'll chop this up, and then we'll do the rest. Second batch is done. We're about ready to move to the stove. Okay, before we move to the stove, since I'm here and I've got my ingredients here, let's just go ahead and add them. There's the salt, pepper flakes, Worcestershire sauce, dried mustard, apple cider vinegar, and I'm going to add the honey when we get to the stove. And I'm keeping a secret ingredient until this is almost done. This was a 16 ounce bottle of honey, and I thought it was a 1 1/4 cup serving, just as it was. But out of curiosity's sake, and just to make sure for my recipe, I've poured it out, and you know, you can't get every last little bit out, but it pretty much is 1 1/4 cup. So when I do this recipe again, I will know to just use this whole bottle of honey. Now I did not spray this with oil like you normally would to make it easy to remove, because I don't want that in my recipe. I don't think it would hurt, but you know, why add it if you don't have to? We'll just scrape it out. All right, here we go. Let's get out as much as you can. And that's all there is to this, y'all. And we're going to heat it for about 25 minutes until it becomes like the recipe says a thin barbecue consistency, store-bought barbecue sauce consistency. I don't know what that means, so I guess we'll just use our own judgment. I mean, because some barbecue sauces are watery, and some are thin, some are thick. So, you use your judgment too. Let's just stir it together. Ooh, isn't it pretty, y'all? It smells good. And I was going to tell you, those Korean pepper flakes, sorry, Alyssa's heating up something. They are hot, but they are kind of a sweet hot, so I thought they would be really good in this barbecue sauce. And you think, oh my goodness, this is going to be really hot when you first taste it, but it just kind of mellows in your mouth and just has a really good flavor. So anyway, let's just let this cook. Okay, this says to bring to a rolling boil on a medium-high heat, and then we're going to turn it down and boil it gently for about 25 minutes. Okay, this has come up to a boil. Pardon the noise. Now we're going to turn it down and just let it boil gently for 25 minutes. Okay, don't forget to stir as it's cooking. You don't have to stir constantly, but every few minutes just come and stir it. You don't want it to burn on the bottom. Okay, y'all, let's give it a taste. There's the timer. Hold on. Y'all, that is delicious. But I promised you a secret ingredient. Here it is. This is Cholula in the chipotle flavor. This is not real hot, but it has a delicious smoky flavor to it. And I didn't smoke my peaches, so I'm just adding that. I'll stir it in. And then there's one more step that's not included in the instructions, but that I'm doing. I am going to use my immersion blender and break up these big chunks. I don't want a chunky barbecue sauce with peaches and onions in it. Big chunks of peaches and onions, I should say. So let's just blend that up real quick. Make sure you keep this under there. You don't want it splattering on you. Y'all, that is so good. Let's give it another taste. I'll get these spoons mixed up. That's good. Wow. We went from really good to wow. Now that last ingredient is not totally necessary. If you don't put it in, it has more of a sweet flavor. But if you do add it, it gives more of a salty, smoky taste to it. So it's totally up to you. Let's get this jarred up. Alrighty, y'all, let's jar this up. Now there is a little bit of foam, excuse me, around the edges of this. If I was entering this into the fair, I would worry about it and get it out, but I'm not entering it into the fair, so I'm not going to worry a thing in the world about it. I'm going to ladle this into the jars to 1/2 inch headspace, and that's all there is to it. have scraped, and I got exactly 7 half pints. Now, somehow I got messy with this. This whole project's been messy, y'all. Had a Jesus take the wheel kind of morning with this stuff. It's alright, y'all, we got it done. Now we're just wiping these rinse. And then I'm going to put my flats on, and I have washed them. My friend Heather over at Needy Homestead. She taught me a little something I didn't know about washing these lids. Kind of grossed me out. I'm making sure I wash my lids. Alright, lids on. These aren't going to the fair, and I'm not going to be picky with how the lids are on there. Just as long as they're there. Alright. Uh-oh, I don't have my rings. Let me go get them. Here we go. We just put them on finger tight. I just push down, and when the jar starts turning on this towel, it's tight enough. And while I'm doing this, y'all don't forget to go visit Crystal at A Whole New Perspective and watch some of her videos for Can It Up. No, excuse me, not Can It Up. Jar It Up 2023. She's got some great things. I've watched a few of her recipes, or videos I should say. And there we go. Let's pop these in the canner. Y'all excuse me if y'all see this barbecue sauce all over me because it went everywhere. Alright. Okay, first jar in. Something tells me this one's not going to seal. So I'm going to put it right there in the middle and we'll see. Alright, my water is hot. So I'm going to use my gloves to drop these down into the water very carefully. Make sure the water is covering your jars by at least 1 inch. We are good. All right, we'll put the lid on and bring it to a rolling boil. And once it comes to a rolling boil, then we'll set the timer for 15 minutes. We are almost up to a rolling boil. Now while I was waiting on the canner, I went ahead and cleaned up everything without the help of my dishwasher. There we go. There's all the things we used to make this, except for the peaches, and those go to the pigs. I think we're at a rolling boil. Let's set the timer for 15 minutes. Let's look in here and make sure. Let's give it a minute. Okay, I think we're there. I'll set the timer for 15 minutes. Alright, our timer just went off. Let's turn off the stove. I forgot to wipe the stove off where it splattered. So, let's do that. Okay, and we're going to turn off the eye. Open the lid away from us. Let that steam escape. Then we're going to let this sit here for about 5 minutes until the water becomes still. See a jar that's tilting. We don't want that. Let's set it up. Alright. Just give it a minute, then we'll take them out. Alright, this has gotten pretty still. Y'all ready to get it out and put it on the cooling table? I think we're ready.
Thank you all so much for joining me. You know I love it when you come and spend a few minutes with me. So until we meet again, May you be blessed. Love you guys.